All right, so we keep hearing about this 8.3 unemployment's down to 8.3. It's looking good. Yet we have this little short-term budget for 2012 and 2013 for our country. That's crazy. And what was the other thing? Let me open this too, because this goes with this. Jacob Lew defends Obama's spending plan. White House Chief of Staff Jacob Lew on Sunday dismissed Republican criticism of President Obama's latest spending plan, arguing that it charts a long-term strategy for tackling the national debt, while offering a short-term boost to the recovering economy. The budget request, due on Capitol Hill Monday, calls for spending $3.8 trillion in 2013, according to sources with knowledge of the document, including fresh increases for roads, infrastructure, manufacturing, and education, as well as a year-long extension of emergency unemployment benefits and temporary payroll tax holiday. Now, that's all I want to read to you. This little article here. Excuse me. Damn, my nose is itching. As well as a year-long extension of emergency unemployment benefits. Now, we already have the 99-week thing, right? We already got that going. Are they telling me by reading this another year on top of that? Another 51 weeks? So we're going to have, basically 150 weeks of unemployment benefits instead of 99 weeks? Is that what I'm reading here? Or are they renewing? It doesn't say anything about renewing it. As well as a year-long extension of emergency unemployment benefits. It doesn't say that it's what we added last time to renew that. It's talking about a fresh thing of year-long extension. That's what this article says from Washington Post. Now, why would they need to do that if the economy is still recovering, and it is actually recovering, as they say, right? Let's pretend it's really recovering like they said. For God's sakes, unemployment, 8.3%. And that's funny that that's a number that just came out. 8.3% down from not, we're in the 9s and stuff. Oh, man. Ooh, that sounds good. Then why do they need to extend the unemployment benefits if unemployment's going down? Probably because the whole damn thing is a farce. It's a lie. And to continue on with that, let's go ahead and go to this headline. Detroit, Michigan. Detroit citizens no longer rely on police as self-defense killings skyrocket. So maybe people are being robbed more and more. Why would robberies and things like that go up in a recovering economy, in a decline in unemployment ratio? I guess those numbers are full of crap, aren't they? I guess they're fake. They're BS numbers, as we all know. I'm going to read this to you. Justifiable homicide, what they call that. Justifiable homicide in the city shot up a massive 79% in 2000 year alone from the previous year. As citizens in the long-suffering city armed themselves and took matters into their own hands. The local rate of self-defense killing now stands at 2,200% above the national average. This must be fake. Is this from The Onion? The little spoof? Is this from The Onion? Oh, no, actually, it's a legitimate thing here. Oh, interesting. The Daily. Oh. 2,200% above the national average. Do you know how absurd that is? How nuts that is? It can't be possible. This has to be fake. I mean, right? As I said, 8.3% unemployment all of a sudden. The economy's recovering. And, as I just read you from the White House, we need to put into place another year extension of unemployment benefits. That's not possible. 8.3% unemployment. It's going down, not up, right? Wow. The local rate stands above 222 2,200% above the national average, residents unable to rely on a dwindling police force to keep them safe are fighting back against the criminal scourge on their own. And they're offering no apologies. Quote, "We've got to have a little Old West up here in Detroit. That's what it's going to take," resident Julia Brown told The Daily. The last time Brown, who was 73, called the Detroit police, they didn't show up until the next day. So she applied for a permit to carry a handgun and says she's prepared to use it against the young thugs who have taken over her neighborhood, burglarizing entire blocks, opening fire at will, and terrorizing the elderly with impunity. Quote, "I don't intend to be one of their victims," she said. And she has lived in Detroit since the late 1950s. "I'm planning on taking one out." Now that's what I'm talking about. How it got this bad in Detroit has become a point of national discussion. Violent crime settled into the city's bones decades ago, but recently, as the number of police officers have plummeted and police response times have remained distressingly high, citizens have taken to dealing with things themselves. In the city of about 700,000 people, the number of cops has steadily fallen from about 5,000 a decade ago to fewer than 3,000 today. So almost got cut in half. Detroit homicides, the second highest per capita in the country last year, according to the FBI, rose by 10% in 2011 to 344 people. On a bleak day in January, a group of funeral directors, worried by the violence, drove a motorcade of hearses through the city streets in protest. Average police response time for priority calls, in other words, major emergency, you call 911, I need you here now, that's what they're talking about. Average police response times for priority calls in the city, according to the latest data available, is 24 minutes. In comparable cities across the country, it is well under 10 minutes. Citizens like Brown feel they have been left with little choice but to take the law into their own hands. The number of justifiable homicides in which residents use deadly force in self-defense jumped from 19 in 2010 to 34 last year, a 79% increase. So, signs of vigilantism was taking hold in the city, came earlier, around Memorial Day 2009, when former federal agent Alvin Davis decided he'd had enough of the break-ins at his mother's home on the east side. She called the police again and again, but the brazen robberies continued. Davis, then a 32-year-old Immigration and Customs Enforcement officer, snapped. Prosecutors said he spent days chasing and harassing the teenagers who were allegedly robbing his mother, even shoving his federally issued firearm into one of their mouths. No one was killed, but by the time he was done, Davis had racked up charges of unlawful imprisonment and assault. In August 2010, he was convicted and sentenced to 4 years in prison. Now that's very interesting, because I just read today that an older lady was parked, minding her own business in a church parking lot. No one was really there, and a police officer responded, "We've got a suspicious vehicle. I'm going to go check it out." I hear those calls all the time. Remember, I'm rolling out with my local law enforcement once a week, every week, and I hear the calls. I respond to certain calls because I do volunteer work for them. We respond to nonviolent, low priority calls that they would hate the type of deputy doing when he or she could be doing something a lot more important, such as answering an important 911 call and not making someone wait 24 minutes. So long story short is, I'm hearing these calls no matter what the call is. I'm hearing the radio, the same police radio that the deputies use, we use also. We're out with them in other cars, again, responding to different things that are low priority stuff that a citizen could do. So I know all about what a suspicious vehicle is. And I don't know if the same codes or where they were. I think this is in Virginia. But down here we call it a 13. A signal 13P is suspicious person. A signal 13V is a suspicious vehicle. So I saw this, read this this morning, went and responded to a suspicious vehicle. And a suspicious vehicle most of the time is someone sitting in a parking lot minding their own business, and some bozo sheep. Well, there's a car out in the parking lot next, in the parking lot across the street. Okay, we'll send an officer by. They're not doing anything. Most of the time. So, he responds, and allegedly he says, I was trying to get her license from her, and she started to drive off, and my hand was in her window, and she was able to roll the window up that was all the way down, and was able to roll it up with his hand in there the whole time. He never took his hand out. Then it got stuck, and then she proceeded to drive off, so he shot her, and naturally she died. That's his version. Well, she's dead, so we can't hear her version. But apparently, someone was across the street watching this the entire time, and it caught their attention because he heard two people yelling, arguing back and forth. So he looks out the window. Oh, that's a police officer and some lady in a car. So he sees this little heated argument going on. And apparently the lady, maybe she didn't want to hand him her license. Maybe she didn't like the way he was talking to her. Nobody knows. But she decided, I've had enough, I'm driving off. Now keep in mind, I'll cover that in a second. So she says, whatever it is, I've had enough and I'm leaving. This eyewitness says, I saw his left hand on the door handle trying to open the door. Not caught in a window. Trying to open the door. And as she drove off, he already had his hand on his gun on the other hand. So one hand has his gun in it. The left hand, he's trying to open the door. She drives off. He shoots her. And then as he drives off a little bit more, he shoots 5 or 6 more rounds as the vehicle's already gone. And then she didn't get very far before I guess she died and the car stopped. That's an eyewitness. He's not biased against the police. He's not biased against the lady. He was just standing there, didn't care about anybody, and minding his own business, and saw this. So naturally, I go to the web. I read about this morning, and I see there's a bunch of Facebook people responding to it on the website of the news channel, the news website. And I see these comments. When a police officer tells you to do something, you do it. It's no surprising to me that he had to shoot her. So wait a minute. Your Fourth Amendment, whoever you are that wrote that, do you know what the Fourth Amendment is? Do you know that there are such things as unlawful commands that a police officer can give you? And if it's an unlawful command, he has no lawful right to give you that command. You don't have to obey it. And frankly, you could drive off, right? Suspicious vehicle, she's sitting there reading a book, let's say, I don't know what she was doing. And he comes up, I need to see your license and registration. She could go tell him, F off, go pound sand. I'm not doing anything wrong. You don't have any probable cause to mess with me. Just because someone may have called it in and said there's some vehicle over here next door doesn't mean that they have to show you anything. Now, I rode with one of our deputies here several months ago on one of his patrols. I was just riding with him, basically. And he was explaining to me about how he'll stop someone walking, looks a little suspicious to him, but that doesn't mean there's any probable cause whatsoever. It just looks a little suspicious to him, whatever. He'll pull up, hey man, can I talk to you? Can you come in for a second? You got a license on you or anything? And they will always cooperate. He says 99, probably out of 100 people, they'll cooperate. They won't even question it. He says, but you'll notice I asked them, can I see it? I'm not demanding that you show it to me right now. Because that would actually be unlawful for me to do that. Because I have no probable cause. If I have no probable cause, I cannot tell them I need to see your license. So I basically need to ask them. So he's explaining this to me as we're patrolling late at night, and we go through an area that's been getting hit with burglaries, up a little bit than normal. And he was explaining that this is the area I'm going to drive through here because burglaries are up and see if we see anything suspicious. So there's a young man, little hoodie on, can't tell who he is, walking right next to a school on the sidewalk. It's like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that. Naturally, you wouldn't have any business walking down the side of a school sidewalk, but then again, in this country, you can do that. So we pull up. Hey, man, can I talk to you? Come here for a minute. I want to talk to you for a minute. He goes, no. He says, no, I don't want to, and kept walking. Never even stopped. He goes, all right, man, take care. Got back in the car. He goes, that's a prime example I was just telling you. He said 99 out of 100 people wouldn't do that. They would stop right there and talk to me. He's like, all I was going to do is just ask him if he knew anything about any of these robberies or, maybe I can get a name. Maybe it's word on the street. That's all. He said, but you see, he was well within his rights. Maybe he knew that, and he's like, most people don't know that, so they don't know that they can say no. They just comply, and yeah, here's my license. I was walking down the street. I was going to my friend's house, or I was going to the store. Wasn't doing anything. They get all scared. And I actually witnessed it the same day, the same night he's telling me about it. It happened right in front of my face. So I'm just giving you that story so that when people think just because a police officer wants to stop you and talk to you and ask you for things, you don't have to do that if you've done nothing wrong. You just have to make sure you're positive you did nothing wrong. A police officer absolutely, positively, at all times when these kind of things happen, must have probable cause. They call it PC for short. Okay? They must have probable cause. That guy walking down the street at midnight next to a school, well within his rights. And even told the cop, no, I don't want to talk to you. I'm not going to stop. I don't want to talk to you. All right, man, take care. That was it. Left him alone. This guy in Virginia, this cop, is actually lying now. Well, how do you know if he's lying for sure? There's two sides to every story, Joe. There's two sides to every story. Yeah, you're right. The second side, she's dead. And you know the old story, dead man can't tell no tales. So, she's dead. So we only have one story. Oh, but wait a minute. There was this guy who heard an argument and watched the whole thing, clear as day. Nothing was obstructing his view. And watched the whole thing and has a completely different story. One hand on the gun, he says. One hand trying to open the door latch. You know, open your door. No hand was caught at any time, and he executed her right there on the spot. Naturally, you and I know that this cop had an ego problem, and she was that 99 out of 100 people. This cop has never probably had anybody tell him no. I'm not going to show you my license or whatever. Matter of fact, I'm leaving. I haven't done anything wrong. And he said, you know, his ego, who does she think I got this? Don't you see this badge right here? Don't you see this badge? You know what that means? You have to listen to me. No, actually, they don't have to listen to you if it's an unlawful order. So, naturally, this guy, the witness, across the street, saw the whole thing. Yeah, I didn't seem to see what that cop said. No, I saw him shoot the lady through the window. She was just leaving. He was safe where he was standing, and he shot her. So the husband is in tears and crying, and they got this news, got his comment. I think I'm going to go speak with the lawyers to see if there's any, you know, actionable thing I can do here, lawsuit-wise. So that's the response. Kill my wife, cold-blooded murder. The police department, we're going to investigate. You can, Mr. Officer, go on leave. Paid leave, as a matter of fact. Take a little vacation. We're going to investigate our own guy. Officer, she's dead, so we can't talk to the witness. What did you see? We're going to write that in the report. Okay, that's what happened. Wait a minute. Got a witness over here. He's calling BS. He's raising the BS flag on the officer. So, this story that I was just reading a minute ago about Detroit, citizens taking the law into their own hands, a cop, immigration and customs enforcement officer, he snapped because he's tired of his mom's house getting broken into, and the cops not showing up or taking forever to show up, and the thieves basically laughing because they know the cops ain't coming. So he went and roughed these kids up. Didn't kill them either. Just wanted to scare the living daylights out of them to let them know, don't you mess with my mom's house ever again. Now he's doing 4 years in prison. But this cop that just executed an old lady, or older lady, I know she was a mother, you know, probably in her 50s, 60s, I don't know the exact age. We're going to give him a little vacation time, probably with paid leave, as they always do, and we're going to find him. We didn't find anything wrong here. Yep. But that's usually how that ends. This time might be a little bit different because we got a witness. So if we have a witness who goes against the cop's word, what happens? The cops are going to say, well, this is a decorated officer. He's been with us for 15 years or whatever, and you're just, you're Joe Peasant. Yeah, but I'm Joe Peasant that saw the whole thing, and your cop here is lying. But the police department's thinking we can't possibly have the public, under any circumstances, know that this officer did what he did. So we can't fire him and let him go, because that would show guilt, that we know he did it. So we have to keep him on the force. and tell everybody, nope, he was just defending himself, he's good to go. And then the next person that deals with that guy and tries to drive off, he's going to get shot again, he'll shoot somebody else. So the people that we pay money as taxpayers to protect us, to enforce the law, in many instances, not all of them, but as you go to YouTube and go to every place in the country, there's a rogue police officer everywhere. These guys are out of control. So the citizens in Detroit have taken the law into their own hands to deal with the criminals. But what does a citizen do when the criminal's a cop? The police don't police the police. Unless he does this. Right? Like this customs guy wanted to scare the living daylights out of the people robbing his mom. They put him in jail for 4 years. And again, this cop, he's going to probably get off. I hope later on down the road when this goes to trial or whatever the hell happens, they nab his ass and throw him in the jail. We're just going to write him up for excessive force or, misdemeanor manslaughter or something. Yeah, okay. Anyways, I'm doing this video so that you understand what's coming to your country and probably your neighborhood. Detroit is a city, right? It's within city limits. Tampa, Florida, it's in the city limits, right? Brandon, Florida. Every city, major city in the country is probably going to end up something like that if I had to guess. And I'm not talking the next few months or anything like that. It could be years down the road. But I don't think it's going to be that many years down the road by the time the whole country gets in that situation. So anyways, I wanted to share that with you. That's all I got for you.